Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order.
29.
Was that me? I'd like to call to order the Horry County Solid Waste Authority regular meeting Tuesday, April 23rd, 2019. I will ask Ms. Pam Creech to do the invocation, and Mr. Mike Campbell will do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everybody will bow their heads. Dear Lord, we come before you today, and we want to let you know that we do appreciate all the blessings that you bestowed upon us. We appreciate you helping our armed forces, everyone in our government, and we ask for your blessings and your help in our decisions tonight. Amen.
Amen.
Let's face the flag.
I need to get an approval of the agenda.
So I make it.
It's been properly moved in second. Any questions? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, and the agenda is approved. I need approval of the minutes for March 26th, which was a regular board meeting.
So move.
It's been properly moved in second. No, are there any questions? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, and the minutes have been approved. I see no request for public input, so we will move directly into the department reports and updates. Recycle and Corporate Affairs. Jamie is going to do that for us. Esther is not here this afternoon, so Jamie, come on and take the front stand.
I'd like to say good evening.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
As he said, Esther weren't able to be here tonight, so I'm going to speak in her behalf. I'm going to start with the Solid Waste Authority 2019 High School Scholarship recipients. And please, when I call your name, please stand. Zoe McNeilis, Academy for Arts, Science and Technology. Madeline Beverly, Academy for Technology and Academics. Raleigh Cook, Conway High School. Felicia Weaver, Early College High School. Logan Gore, Green C. Floyd's High School. That's where I graduated. Haven Flesh, Loris High School. Austin Randall, Myrtle Beach High School. Nicholas Gallagher, North Myrtle Beach High School. And Tinsley Carter, Socastee High School. Let's give them all a big round. Now I'm going to open up the floor if anyone of them would like to come up and have any words to say.
I'll make it short and sweet. I just want to thank y'all for this amazing opportunity and helping me get one step closer to becoming a school teacher like my mom over there. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you guys for helping me to attend the Calhoun Honors College to study genetics at Clemson University.
I would also like to say thank you for helping me reach my dream of attending Clemson University, majoring in early childhood education.
Yeah.
I just want to say I really appreciate all y'all do for the community, and thank y'all for giving us the opportunity to receive this scholarship, and appreciate all y'all have done.
I just want to thank y'all so much for giving me this scholarship so I'll be able to attend Lander University and become a nurse practitioner. So thank you guys so much.
I just wanted to thank you all for this opportunity for giving me this scholarship because I want to be a high school history teacher and this will really help me a lot. So thank you so much.
All right.
Just wanted
wanted to thank you guys for this scholarship and helping me to further my education at Coastal Carolina University.
Yeah.
I just want to thank everybody for this opportunity and helping me achieve my dreams in attending Clemson University.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, I'd just like to say on behalf of the board, we would like to express our congratulations to all of you and wish you well in your endeavors.
So this scholarship's offered to all 13 Horry County schools, high schools, and we had 9 recipients this year. Now some updates with our, what's been going on in our department. Longs Recycling Center paving update. If you look up on the board, this was due to start the week of 5th and was supposed to be finished by the 8th. We went about 3 weeks over. Well, had some rain delays. This center was in desperate need of paving. I was getting calls weekly on it, on the busted asphalt and concrete.
Jamie, hang on for just a second. I forgot. If you can leave if you like. You don't have to sit through the updates. I know it may be a little boring to you. Again, have a good afternoon to you. I'm sorry, Jamie.
That's all right.
Yeah, I'm telling you. All right.
But as I was saying, the Longs Recycling Center really need paving, and we finally got it done. The recycling pad and the compactor pad was totally demolished and replaced. The customers there were standing in water to recycle. I think the previous paving and the project that was done was not done so great. But anyway, it's been redone. We raised the pads. Both pads are above water now. Got good grade on it. Had 2 spots with standing water after it rained, and once Palmetto comes out and fixes that, it'll be complete. But we are open and back in business, and it looks real good. You can see the pictures. They ended up putting 2 speed bumps all the way across the entrance and the exit. So that was needed also. Any questions on Longs? If you get a chance, ride out and look at it. It looks real good. Smart Garden Workshop, Grow Workshop update. On April 16th and 17th, the SWA hosted a Smart Garden Grow Workshop. The SWA holds this free workshop annually and encourages Horry County residents to come and learn about proper plant watering, good pest, bad pest, and growing a healthy vegetable garden. South Carolina DHEC provided the literature for the workshop, which was presented by Clemson Extension Agent Gary Forrester, who offered valuable information and answered questions on how to be a productive gardener. I think the first day there was 42 in attendance, the second day 40, 82 overall, and everything went good from what I heard.
Jamie, who grew the plants?
That was the middle school over here. Yeah, Blackwater.
Blackwater Middle School?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
And I don't know if they're all gone yet.
Yeah, I think they're gone.
But
I
they
came
were.
by and looked at them. They were pretty, they were nice. I just didn't remember who did them. Yeah. They did a good job.
Next is the caulk green-handed update. This was done March at the Brooksville Recycling Center. Mr. Peter Webster, he was caulk green-handed, and he's a regular recycler there at that center. And the site attendant said that he's just very conscientious about recycling, and he loves doing it. And he was well pleased with the gift pack he got. He really appreciated it. That's pretty much all I've got on our updates. And I think y'all all know that you've got there a packet for the SWA SWA Spring Conference. Esther wanted me to let y'all know that it was all provided there.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Finance and Administration?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My reports begin on page 20. We are now through the end of March, so we're 9 months through our budget year. We should be at around 75% of our budget. And as you can see, we continue to move in the right direction. If you look in the middle of the page, you can see that solid waste is at 77.57% of budget, mixed construction at 79.83% of budget, and our yard waste at 75.78% of budget. So, like I said, definitely keeping things on track and moving in the right direction. Our tipping fees, as you can see, over last year, we've seen a little over 9.94% increase in our tipping fees over last year. So, also glad to see that. One negative side, of course, of it is our recyclable sales are only at 57.51% of budget. And of course, that has to do with the prices that we're seeing now. And I know Mike's going to talk to you a little bit about those prices. They're not necessarily moving in the right direction, but we keep hoping and praying that those will turn around. Our C&D processing facility, like I said, they've saved a little over 44 days of landfill airspace year to date. And their revenue, expenses over revenue of $105,189.54. Just looking at that, that is a tremendous increase, like I said, because now our revenue and expenses in the C&D processing facility are coming closer together, which is great. Mike continues to send more material over there. They're processing more. I think, of course, the being able to sell the material has been our hardest part of that. If we can get those prices up and sell the material, we'll see that actually balance out, which will be astounding. Probably the first time we will have seen that since we've opened that facility, but it's doing a great job over there. The materials recycling facility with the collection and hauling program has saved a little over 58 days of landfill airspace, and expenses over revenue of $507,000.87. And of course, that has to do with the sale of the recyclable material. On page 22 is the income statement. And as you can see, month to date, we had revenue over expenses of $342,500.58, and year to date, revenue over expenses of $3,700,579.09. As you can see, our total revenue is at 76.62% of budget, with our expenses being at 65.63% of budget. And like I said, again, I have to thank staff for continuing to hold the expenses, watching the expenses, not buying anything that's not necessary. They're doing a great job of utilizing they're watching their budget and utilizing their expenses. As you can see, just looking at the top of it, you can see up there that our sale of C&D recyclable materials is at 78.37% of budget, which is a C&D factory. So like I said, I just want to thank Mike for doing a great job of sending the material over there. On page 26, just wanted to kind of take a look at some of the tonnages so you can kind of see where we are this year as compared to last year. As you can see, our solid waste is seeing a 6.75% increase over last year. Our yard waste at 16.69% increase, and our mixed construction at a little over 16% increase over last year. Of course, some of that has to do with the storm we saw earlier this year, but we also, like I said, have just seen an increase in our tonnage, which is good. Just wanted to give you an update on the Horry County Budget Workshop and the INR meeting. Our budget was presented at the Horry County Budget Workshop on April 5th. Like I said, no questions were asked. Like I said, everything went through fine with them. I know they're in the process of having second reading on their budget, and ours will, of course, just be incorporated with theirs. The INR meeting was held on April 9th, and that was primarily to discuss Fund 6, the unincorporated collection system. As Mr. Gosnell had told them in prior years, that fund is very low. Like I said, they've depleted all of their storm debris money as well as their fund balance to operate those centers. And unless they want to close centers or reduce services in some way, they're going to have to see some kind of tax increase. Yes, sir.
Or make recycling mandatory.
Or-
Thank you, Danny, for bringing that message to INR.
Exactly.
That was outstanding.
Exactly. Make some changes somehow, some way.
Yes.
So anyway.
There's a choice.
Exactly. So it's supposed to be brought before council. I believe they proposed, INR proposed a 3 mil increase. So hopefully that'll maybe be incorporated into their budget for next year to start
building those funds back up. Like I said, that's kind of what they want to do. Also to put the funds there so that we can hopefully build a new centers, over the next couple of years. So we definitely don't want to see any services be cut. We don't want to see any centers have to be closed, but that's what they're facing if they don't see this tax increase. So that was kind of what took place at the INR meeting. So I'll answer any questions. All right.
Let me mention one thing. Jan talks about landfill space savings, for the MRF, and the C&D factory. Next month, in this report, there'll be a savings showing from the store. We figured out sort of how to wag that, and, that will be that'll be in this report next meeting. And we will start tomorrow on, we know how we think we can do it, so we can scout it. I think the income looked pretty good today. I was in there when they dropped that off, so store's doing well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Operations?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
A little bit on the landfill, just a short, brief thing on the landfill. We did have our inspection this month. It turned out good, no problems, no issues, no write-ups, so we had a good month. And then we also had our permit writer for our air quality come out, and the air quality people and the permit writer came out and looked and called us a couple of days in advance and said, we're coming to see you. They came and everything looked good, so we've had a couple inspections this month, and every time.
The people reviewing this tape, that's DHEC that came to inspect us.
Yes, DHEC, Department of Health and Environmental Control. So they've been out a couple times and inspected this month, and every time they've come, they haven't seen any issues, which is good. So the guys out there on the landfill do a good job, and it really makes you feel good when the inspector leaves. Your operators are calling you, wanting to know, how did we do? How did we do? So it's definitely a team effort. On page 36, your C&D recycling update, as Jan mentioned, we have moved more material into that facility. March, I compared some numbers from March of last year to March of this year, and we increased the tonnage going into the facility by approximately 200 tons, and our recycling rate went up. It's on page 36. It went up, and so we're 72% recycling compared to 69 last year. So the C&D facility guys are doing an excellent job over there, and that tells by Jan, when you got $106,000 cost you to recycle over there, and for the months that we've done it already is amazingly changed from what we've done over the years. So it's definitely looking up, and that was something we moved forward. Those guys has really took that challenge on and moved forward with it. Over on the MRF, on page 37, you can see, if you look at that line that's got the purple line and it comes down and drops all of a sudden, well, that's where it went from Charleston to just Horry County. And then that compared, if you look at the turquoise line down there, you'll see that's where we were prior to Charleston. So you can see we are recycling more material, bringing more material into the MRF than we were before Charleston came here. So there's definitely been an increase in Horry County. That has a lot to do with the Myrtle Beach recycling facility closing, the recycler for the cardboard, and Waste Industries getting out of the business, because none of that material came to us before. But we are picking up material. We got, since July, if you take away and don't take into account the Waste Industries purchase that we did for the containers and taking over their route, or taking over Myrtle Beach Recycling's route to keep that stuff from going into landfill, we've also increased by 32 additional OCC containers since that period of time, 7 of those being in the last 30 days. So we're putting more and more containers out to keep that material out of the landfill. On page 38, as you can see, we've got some materials that our prices, how they've continued to drop a little bit compared to 16. But I'll give you an example. In the month of March, we were selling OCC for $74 a ton. This month, we sold it for $45. we're selling mixed newspaper for $12.50 a ton. We're selling plain newspaper for $85 this month. Office paper, which has always been a big high up, holding its price, dropped over $60 a ton this month. Our HDPE natural dropped $300 a ton. And all indications are there's nothing changing that in the near future. It's what the markets are. They're glutted with material, glutted with paper. Other countries, we had some people visiting us this week from India, trying to open that market back up again. So it's definitely an issue with it, and you'll see it reflected in our revenue and our cost, revenue that we're doing versus cost.
Apple put out a statement this week that they're able to recycle 77% of the components that are in their equipment that's being returned. Do we have a program with Apple where we're returning Apple products?
No, so
So
it's all
the e-waste goes together.
yeah, all the e-waste is
Something
not.
we might want to investigate. I don't know how much income there might be, but that's
Yeah.
terrific that they're
You
able
know,
to.
we get money out of the computers. So we get, or we don't, the cities do and the county does. It's not a revenue generator for us because whatever the cost is, we take what revenue we get back for those products and subtract it from their bill.
Right.
So it's the direct back to them. And we, for computers or hard drives or certain types of stuff, we get a certain amount of, or the Solid Waste Authority gets a refund for that amount. So it's something to look, we'll look at it, but you know, we're already getting paid. And what happens is you have people here all the time wanting the computers. They don't want the rest of it. The computers is the cream of the crop. So if you take the computers out of it, then the electronics person don't want the rest of it.
I see.
Mike, with the Apple, are they sending these phones back to Apple and they're recycling, or are they putting them in a recycling center somewhere? I think what's happening with Apple, that the phones are being returned and they're recycling them there rather than coming through a waste recycling center.
The phones and stuff, we don't get any phones at all. We don't get any phones at all. But and there's people always wanting the phones.
Yeah.
So you can sell phones on the internet. You can sell them yourself if you got old phones because of the precious metals in them. On page 39, you can that's just a graph of all the material, and you see those spaces in between the things where there's no line. Well, typically when we had Charleston, we sold every product every month. Well, we don't sell every product every month now because there may be some time, you know, it maybe skip a month before you get enough material to even sell. So that's what, when you see those lines and dots in between there's no line, that's what that's saying. There's a month skipped in there. So as you're looking at that chart, you'll know what that does. MRF upgrade. On page 40, we have, I've got several projects here going on that we're going to just give you all a quick update on them. But the MRF upgrade, we've signed a contract with Machine X. We've issued the purchase order. They should be here within the next 2 weeks to do a 3D scan of our facility. They should have everything to us to approve sometime in June, July. So they're going to design the system, and then we'll say, yep, that's what we agreed to, move forward with building it. The plans is still to have this thing completed by the end of January, operationally full, turned over to us free and clear in February. So that's where we're at. Hopefully we can get to there, and our products will be a little bit better, and our labor will be less. That's the key.
Do we have any third-party inspections, or are we doing all of it in-house?
Well, inspections on.
As to performance towards the contract?
We all doing that in-house. The MRF storage facility, we have built the loading dock portion of it where we put a loading dock. We're in the process now of trying to get the building permit, working with the county building department and code enforcement to get those building permits, and we're hoping to have that building completed in June. All right. Any questions? If you do, just stop me. Murph rebuild in-house. As y'all know, we took on part of the Murph rebuild ourselves in order to be able to do it up in the budget that we had. And we've taken on those, and we should have those completed. Everything's on schedule to be completed, and we have to have it completed by January 1st. So what we're doing is we're rebuilding anything that they're not putting in or touching. So if they're not touching it, we want to rebuild and get it up to new as well, so that our plant will be new. Our Murph floor repair was completed on April 7th, so we went in, all the repairs were. They were repaired and fixed and done and completed. We do have a performance bond and a warranty on that for 2 years. So we do have the coverage if we have any problems. We are having problems with our old floor. If you remember, we held back on it because I wasn't satisfied with it. Well, it's starting to have problems. So we have notified them. They're supposed to be in here sometime next week to look at it. We do have that warranty where they gave us that additional warranty. If you remember, we sort of held back payment until we got some additional warranty. The warranty hasn't run out, so it's supposed to have run out in August, and we found the problem before it run out. So they're going to.
Surface falling?
It's delaminating from the old floor. So we're going to see where that takes us. And of course, collection and hauling still picking up. We're picking up stuff, and that's about all that's going on in collection and hauling. We are looking at doing some stuff to try to improve that. We're putting a computerized routing system in on the trucks and stuff to try to make those equipment more efficient, and we'll be working on that, and I'll bring that to you as we get farther along in that process. All right. Let's see. The driver of the month is Jerome Thomas with Big D Recycling. He works well with staff, and the staff recommended that he be the driver of the month. So the operators out there recommends these people and for working with them and stuff. So they do a good job on that. The next thing, I got a few more projects that's coming up that's going to get us going. Disaster debris, which is on page 52. It is time to upgrade the disaster debris plan. So, so we're in the process. We've hired someone to come in and help us get it done. We're in the process of doing that. There's a hurricane conference down in Florida in the middle of May. And then we will have, on May 23rd, we will have a meeting, our annual training for disaster debris on the May 23rd at 9 o'clock, if you want to put that on your calendars. Recommended all cities and counties come, and we'll do the annual training, new FEMA regulations, what you need to know, and things like that. And then after that point in time, we'll have a meeting with the municipalities and the county to determine if you've got any points they want to do on the disaster debris plan as far as getting it upgraded. So we'll be working on that in the month of May and June. The landfill road project, which is where we're going to build a road around the landfill, we're currently in the engineering design phase on that. Piggyback 3 project, we have mailed out the letters notifying the homeowners adjacent to the property of our intent to file for a permit. It also was in the Sun News on the April the 14th through the 16th as required, and we're waiting for further review from DHEC before we move any further. So we're working on that as it goes through. Answering calls to nearby residents and talking to them as well. Scale house upgrade. We are in the process of doing that. We had a mandatory pre-bid conference on April the 11th. Proposals was scheduled to be in on the 24th, but we have moved that till, I think it's the 5th, right? The 5th of May. So instead of the 24th, it's 5th of May. We moved that yesterday so the project would be back in. So they had asked for some extensions, a couple week extensions on it, the contractors, before they could bid on it. We had 3 contractors show up at the mandatory pre-bid to look at it. We're hoping we'll get at least 3 bids. All right, last but not least, page 56, waste characterization study. We will be in the process of doing the waste characteristic study on, in June of this year. We should have it. It'll be, the actual study will be on, the people will be on site. We haven't picked the exact date yet, but that will be in July. If you remember, we do 2 samplings, one in the summer and one in the winter. So we're going to do one in July. We did it last year in June and November. This year we're going to do it July and December. So we'll do the samplings at that time, and hopefully by February we'll have what the makeup of our waste stream is and how it's changed from the last time, or if there's been any changes. So that'll be good to see. If you remember last time, cardboard was a big issue. There was a lot of cardboard in the waste stream still. So those are just some things we're working on, and as something changes on these projects, we'll come back and update you on it. We're going to show you, we did have one other thing, the C&D recycling, C&D grinder, and some of y'all were not here to see it. So we took a drone picture of it. This is another production by Chris Calhoun. Just a short take on it, just about a minute or so of it operating. Dobstat brought this out here to do this and to show us how to do, and we done a compaction study on it after we ground it up. We waiting on Vance to finish it up, but what numbers he came up with first, there was a 12% more compaction rate by grinding it. And he's going to be putting the numbers to it, exactly how much in dollars they would be on cost or savings versus this. We got all the operating costs on the piece of equipment and everything like that, so we'll play those numbers. But it was, we were all betting on it, and I lost. Some people said it's about 12%. Of course, DHEC came out to see it. They wanted to see it. So I said I bet 20%, so I lost. Some of the other ones got it closer. So, but that's what it does. We just pick it up and grind it. And Miss Creech was here, and Bo was here, and so we definitely got to see that. Mr. Jones was here to see it.
Explain the 2 different piles.
Okay.
What we did with the
So we had 2 piles. One had 75 tons in it. The other had 75 tons in it. We took it and ground the one pile 75, pushed it out, put the compactor on it, graded it, mashed it, run over it the same amount of time, the times, and then we took the other pile, the second pile you see there, and pushed it down with the compactor and packed it down. And then, you know, we took the elevations before and after to get the compaction ratio. Vance was here and his crew to make sure we did everything correctly, because we wanted to make sure that it was a good understanding of what we did and make sure that we did it right. So we asked for the engineering firm to be here to make sure that we could do the correct compaction.
One of the concerns that you had was it also would require a loader in addition to the grinder. Have you thought any more about that, how we could streamline that?
You're going to have a loader any way you go. There's just no way out of it. You got to be able to have something that if there was something wrong in that pile that you could pick it out, because manually you're not going to be able to do it. And that piece of unit right there we use in yard waste. We brought it over from yard waste to bring it over. We got a track loader that Ms. Creech suggested we use this one over here, but it's got a lot of hours on it. So if we used it, it would be short term. So you'd end up still having to buy a unit. That's one that we had that was old that we kept after 5 years, because 5 or 6 years when we normally get rid of them. So we kept it as a spare in case one of the other 2 went down.
Mike, this drone is so phenomenal that we're able to see this, and it sure would be nice if the operator could see what the drone is seeing of the loader.
Yeah, if he's loading it.
Exactly where to place it.
Well,
You were talking about we need a cab that's up high so we can see over and in, but if using the drone might do the same thing.
Yeah. That drone does take good pictures.
Yes.
It does. So in other words, that went from 75% compaction to 45%, and what we actually get is 12.
Well, we got 12 additional percent of compaction compared to
Okay.
what we would have got normally.
Okay,
So only increased by 12%.
okay. So the salesman had a good sales pitch. That,
Know how to sell.
that wasn't true.
He was a student of
That
Carl's.
wasn't true.
He was
How
a
long,
student
Mike?
of Carl's.
How long did it take to grind that 75 tons?
It took us about an hour. About an hour. Hour and 10 minutes.
Okay.
So, you know, you're gonna need to be about 75 tons an hour, a minimum of 75 tons an hour to keep up with this volume of waste we got coming in here. Because you're gonna have downtime, you got repair time, you got all the other things that you gotta take into account.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, did they talk about the maintenance? I saw the one up in, I guess, Sand Hill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they were talking about $100,000 a year to replace, blades? And those were the bigger blades.
Right.
Yeah.
This one has one drum in it, that one had two.
Okay.
That one had fixed teeth in it, this one has replaceable teeth in it. So it could be done, but Vance has went through, and that's what he's doing currently, is going through and say, well, how much is a set of teeth? How long they wear out? How long does it take to weld them and work on them? How often you have to do that? Those kind of things, and he's looking at those numbers now, and he will give us that.
So he's gonna give us the number of actually a breakdown on what the
Cost.
cost would be for an hourly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what you would be getting for an additional 12%.
Right, okay, very good.
I spoke to Vance too. Now, the compact we're using, the teeth are worn down a great deal. And I told him to think about the possibility, if there were new teeth running over the stuff, what additional compaction we would be getting on our existing compact.
Yeah. That's a compact that we've had on the landfill since 2012,
Yeah.
and it's not had the teeth placed on it. 14,000 hours.
Yeah, with all those expensive extra machines and workers, I just can't imagine that working out right.
Well, we'll let the engineer look at it and see, and
Listen,
we'll bring it
you got
back to
some
the board.
Deep pockets, it's,
It doesn't hurt to continue to explore.
yeah, it's good to look at, yeah, it's, you know, it grinds it, looks good.
And who
Disappointing.
who knows what his numbers will turn out to be, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
And I think Vance will take the process he went through to polish for the state convention, to show people how he can do the comparison. He's not pushing the piece of equipment. He's not gonna say if we bought it or didn't buy it. It's just the process that he went through to show how you can compare deals.
Yeah, instead of being a black box, this one just turned out to be a big yellow box.
Wasn't a magic box.
No, neither were the black ones.
Did you ever find, I know Pam had asked, if you found any place in the country where they're actually doing this and have been doing it more than a year?
The Dobstat people said they had people that were doing it, but I haven't got that list from them yet. As soon as I get it, we'll look at it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Mr. Knight?
Thank you. I think Mike has taken over with his report.
That's an easy way out, isn't it?
But I've got a few things that I'd like to talk to in roundtable. One being the North Myrtle Beach Chamber meeting on May the 3rd at 8 o'clock. We need some people that's going to go to that. And we'll talk a little bit about the plastic bag bill in roundtable.
Okay, we did have one committee report. It was a special project committee. We asked for a review, a comprehensive review of the store. And Mr. Schwarzkopf, I think that falls on you.
First thing I'd like to do is say thank you for the people that transcribed the committee report meetings. I've been reading committee report meetings for probably about the last 35, 40 years of my life, and this one here was probably about as comprehensive, complete, and well done as any that I've done read the last several years. So
I sat through the meeting. I don't have any questions, plus I've read, and it is very detailed, so it sounded like I was still at the meeting while I was reading this.
If the people that transcribed the report of the minutes, if they left us one sentence out, I'm not aware of it.
Neither am I.
One thing I wanted to mention was I was glad that Danny volunteered that we are going to find out a way to measure the benefit that we're getting from the materials that are sold in the store and kept out of the landfill. And I want to remind you that we want Advance to give us also a quantification for what those days are worth.
Yeah, that was.
Take it that extra step so that we can actually be proud of the accomplishments of what we're keeping out of the landfill.
Yeah, I think that was one of the
We can grow
discussions.
on that.
Right. We had about putting a dollar amount around the airspace days. I mean, it's good to talk about 48 days, but what does that mean from a dollar sense?
And one more thing I wanted to mention was that in building a storage facility, we wanted to make sure that it's well utilized. I'm wondering if we shouldn't recommend that they put an expiration date on everything that goes in there, so that nothing is held an inordinate amount of time. If we're going to invest in a storage facility, it needs to be sold or it needs to expire. And I think we should encourage them to do something like that to make sure that we're not going into dead storage. That's my only concern.
Good enough.
Yeah, I think we need to realize though that, excuse me, as we're trying to figure out this airspace that we're saving, sometimes the cure is worse than the cause. You put down a bicycle. Is it a child's bicycle, big bicycle, male bicycle, have an extra bar in it, female bicycle? So I don't think we'll ever get this to where we can do it as we do to the degree we can do some other things. They get stuff dropped off over there. People come in and say, here it is, and they take it out of their car and they put it down and they ride away. We are so conscious of labor. I don't want to spend more in labor trying to figure out how much airspace we're saving. I think we should know that number to a degree. I just don't want the cost to overcome the benefits of knowing that number. An educated guess from Vance and from them is fine. And dealing with them, I find they keep a pretty close eye on what doesn't move, and they move it out. And they know what sells and what doesn't sell. They know if they've got 5 of something, one of them may be there a while, where they have 1 of something else that doesn't sell, it may go. So that's going to be a real tricky formula if you don't work in that business or in that store to figure out, I think.
I think next month we will show you the ledger we're keeping and explain to you on how many items and the average weight or something like that. And I think you will, and of course we'll encourage everything to, and you don't have to encourage that group over there much to move stuff out. It's amazing to me on what the daily drop-off here is. I mean, it's just, and I don't think it's going to sit around long, but we'll take that into consideration. We certainly will.
I think that's a good idea, but I'm a little concerned that we don't begin to overburden the people that are working there. I mean, you got a lot of items come through there, and to mark those things that are going into storage on an expiration date is going to put some extra work and extra time. Speaking to the lady, she seemed to know pretty much how fast that stuff goes. And just speaking to people who go to the store, if you want something, you better get it while you're there, because you go back, it may be gone because they're rare and different items. So I think that may be a good idea, but I'm concerned that I don't want to put too much more label on people, because that's a lot of stuff.
Well, they admitted to us that they had filters in the attic that hadn't moved.
Yeah.
The whole time they've been here. We don't need dead storage like filters that aren't moving.
Well, the system won't be to the extreme that any moment you can call and ask, how many bicycles you got on hand? I mean, it's not an inventory system like that. It's just kind of what we sell that day. We'll keep a ledger on it, what category it's in, and then it'd be easy for Vance to figure up, just like you would figure, and Mike can do it also, what's saving in the landfill. So, I think that we can get to there.
How about after we do this upgrade, that we increase the advertising of the store?
Well, we've got signs, it was spoken in the committee that should be signs at the
Yeah,
recycling centers. I think they're there, they've got brochures, but we can certainly take a look at that, but
We need to expand on, Mike. The other thing is, I don't think you can really look at this like a regular retail store, like Sears or like Walmart or anything else. This is, I think a lot of times people want to compare it to a regular retail business, and it's, there may be some similarities in, having merchandise that's selling but turnover and things like that. Merchandise that's there has a tendency to vary, and there's a big demand. It's almost like the Humane Society. It's a lot easier to get rid of a French poodle puppy than it is a mature Rottweiler or pit bull. And that's the thing that we have to realize here, that we've got a lot of little kittens and little puppies that come in. There's a big demand for those. They move whatever soft. We got, an old pit bull or an old Rottweiler that comes in. Nobody really, somebody might want it, but they don't want it as fast as they want something else merchandise-wise. So.
I thought you was gonna add an old politician to that group.
Some, they'll be glad to put him out here in the compactor. Human fat.
Habitat for Humanity does a great job of getting the word out about their restore. And it would be great if we get the word out, there's another alternative site for people to investigate.
And along those lines, Bo, I think one of the best-kept secrets in Horry County is the Solid Waste Authority. And last Thursday, Esther did a great job on radio, WRNN, talking with the role of the Solid Waste Authority and things that can come in, things that get recycled, things that don't, et cetera, like that. And also talked about, it's the revenue that's generated, revenue, expense that incur, whatever else. And sometime before that, several months before that, Mike Besson did a interview on TV, and I can't remember who it was with or whatever else. I remember seeing it, and Mike's only concern was that he made it through because he just got over the flu or cold or something and didn't do it as well. And then just a couple nights ago, Kendra did a segment from the Collins Park in Conway for Earth Day. And there's just a lot of opportunities, I think, for us to get the word out on the Solid Waste Authority and the good things we do, and including the store in that information that we disseminate. And I think that we just need more work like Mike and Esther and Kendra have done.
Okay, Pam?
I'd just like to say it would be an easy thing to say this is a feel-good thing and we're feeding people and we're doing that, and we are, and I admire the people for doing that. But 5 years ago, when I came on this board, there was $300 and some thousand to do a building over there, which I disagreed with. And we looked at some different ways and different things to do things. And I think it's been brought up again, and we've discussed it several times. I wish that some figures had been put to exactly how much we saved and what we did. However, one of the reasons that I cannot support that nor vote for it is we never have recouped the 300 and some thousand where that money bought that property. The different trailers and different things that were being put in it, and we are not keeping the money. I've looked at some of the expenses that went through the budget. It was projected at $54,000 for salaries, and it ends up being $62,000. And there are just several questions that I would like to have answered that are not going to be answered in the next few days. The other reason that I cannot our expenses go up about 2% every year. We've lost the Charleston money. Our MRF is not as efficient. The prices are down. We've got a new piggyback expense in the future. We're going to need to raise tipping fees in the future to do that. And when you do that, it puts an added expense on the cities, the county council at the county level. The private people are going to raise their costs, so all of the citizens are going to get theirs raised. And when you look at that, it was taken out of the budget to repair the road coming into here because we didn't have the money. There were several other things that really need to be done for our actual operating expenses. We have projects in here, if you look at the budget, where there are things that are not going to be funded. You have zero balances. Some of the operations in that is not going to be. Our diversion is going to, our budget is going to be totally depleted in a few years. And if you look at it from this standpoint, these are reasons. You say $130,000 isn't a lot of money, but some of that could be used to do the things we need to do here. Some of it could be used to put in the budgets that will be depleted and the budgets that we're not going to be funding. If you need a $50,000 screen, that would have paid for it. And when I look at things from that standpoint, and the fact that we've had time to look at this and to come to a conclusion of that, and the questions that I have that, in my opinion, need to be answered and need to be paid back from that, and looking at the expenses, I think we have more expenses than the actual $7,613 because that's only electric, water and sewer and telephone, and there's maintenance. And there are other things that have to be bought over there. But to look at a building, you say, well, we can use it as a storage building. That'd be great, but it won't be built to our specifications, and it will not be next to our MRF or our C&D or where we're actually doing the other toxic things. It will just be added expense and added labor, which I think building a storage building will be to them. So when you add all of that together, I think there's a lot of things that if we look at a plan, we don't have time to look at that within the next 30 days or so forth and get those answers. And if we look at the budget and what we're lacking to actually spend that for that is just something that I don't consider to be reasonable and I cannot support. And I can't support a budget with that in there. So those are my reasons for that. And I just think this board needs to have a better handle on that and a land plan and what it actually will do before we actually spend that money.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, but when I look at the MOU and what the solid waste agreed to do, one of the things that they agreed to was to furnish storage for the store. So that was written back in 2011, and I think it's been updated, and so we're supposed to do office and storage for it. We spent a lot of time going through the committee, and the committee came to some consensus. So I don't know, I remember the recommendation. I think the recommendation from the committee was that we go forward with the storage building for a number of reasons, some of which you cited. We do feel that it is a community service, that it does give good privilege to the solid waste authority. It is also stated in the MOU that we would have storage for that facility. Also, you said we won't have any design in it. We will have to design it the way that they see more beneficial for storage. It would have to be different. We can't have a high ceiling because they got to stack certain things and that stuff in there. And from what I understand in the meeting is that they would be paying us back for it over a period of time. I went back and looked at the percentage that we said that we were going to be getting from them, which was about a 6.8% after all expenses have been covered. So my understanding, and the committee have to correct me if I'm wrong, is that whatever they bring in, they pay the expenses. The expenses are paid out of that, and we get 6.8% of whatever those final profits are. And I think one of the recommendations that was made is that we use, and I think, Bo, you made that recommendation, that 6.8% that we get back,
We didn't formally
we put it in the
adopt that.
form of advertising.
We didn't formally adopt that, but I'd like to see it as a matching fund.
Well, we didn't formally adopt it. We did formally adopt it because we approved the recommendation.
Yes.
What we have to do now is get an emotion from the board. We have to approve whether or not, from this board, if we want to continue to have those funds in the budget for the storage building. And so so we need to make some decision on that, and I assume that's going to be in the form of a motion and a vote. But I'll listen at what Sam has to say.
Well, a couple things I wanted to make sure in our meeting, it was my understanding that we do hold the money and we send them a check back. They bring us the deposit, correct?
Right.
We hold the money and then we send them back their percentage. Also it was discussed how much more money they could make if the stuff wasn't outside getting weathered and having to be brought to the landfill, which is adding tonnage to the landfill. And it is part of the SWA, any way we look at it right now, for our agreement, right?
Right.
So, and if we do build a building over there, like I said in the committee meeting, we just got through building a 100 by 60, with two roll-up doors on each end, 20 foot wide, 20 foot tall, for $150,000. This is looking at $130,000 budget. If it's just nothing but a square building, and they do something different, and we do end up taking over that building, I feel certain that Mike Bessett would find something to utilize that building for. If we build the building and they pay us back over a period of time under the agreement, and again, they fold or decide to get out of their business, I'm assuming that Mike Bessett would find something to use a concrete floor
For
for the building.
right. Norfleet?
Just to be sure I understand this correctly, it is in the budget now.
Yes.
So the motion would have to be to remove it. If we don't make a motion, if nothing changes, it's in the budget, and the budget moves forward, and it's a done deal.
I believe you're correct,
If
but
the budget proceeds as drafted, it's a draft.
I got that part, Bo. But
There's
I'm
still
gonna
another
I'm gonna hush before I
opportunity
say
to
something I
address this
shouldn't.
subject.
But there was a conversation about a motion to leave it. That is not the way it should be done. It's in the budget. If the budget passed as it is now,
okay. And you're
there's
right.
not a motion needed.
That's true, because what we would have to use this, I guess, is for information purposes only, because we haven't voted on the budget, and we won't do that until
What I would like to propose,
the board
what I would
meeting.
like to propose is the 6.87 that is in the MOU that we received before dispersal or division of the proceeds, that we might use that fund to match any promotion that they are doing. So use that as an incentive, that we'll match their funds to promote the store. And rather than allot the whole 6.87 to promotions, that we would match whatever expenditure they had on promoting it.
We can do that now, can we not? I mean,
Yeah,
we don't need
I
to
don't
change
think that's a
anything to
problem.
do that.
Yeah, we don't have to.
If
spend
they
the
come
whole-
forward and say, we have a plan to do signs or broadcasting or whatever they do, and it's gonna cost X number of dollars, then
we can-
we can match it or not, but we don't need to change this or to change the bill or to tie that to the building
Right.
to make that happen.
Getting something else too, the whole purpose of this program is and what they use their money for. I don't know that you can put money on it. The value on that. They're going out seeing people, feeding people, talking to people.
let me say that we've got advertising money, and we can increase the advertising over there in the existing budget that we have. If you start changing the budget any, I don't know how far downtown we would have to go with the changes, but we can match anything they do with our existing budget, because this money goes into the general fund, and then it's dispersed just like a tipping fee, or just like money that comes out of sale of materials. But we can do more in advertisement in-house.
But we tend to operate everything with everything being its own cost center, and this would be outside the cost center. And I was suggesting it might be an incentive for them to do more promoting if they knew that we would be in on it with them.
Well, this cost center is pretty much spelled out on the expenses and how much money they bring in.
So
and-
far, we haven't spent anything promoting the store, and this is something we should encourage them to do, and this would be an incentive to them if we would
Okay.
tell them we would match their incentive.
I would like to say that the building is ours, the product is ours, we pay their salary. They don't have any money to pay us back with, in my opinion. That's just the way I see it from a business standpoint. Everything that's there is being given, including paying the bills, paying the salary. Anybody in business would love that deal. And I'll say again, you can't pay me back with something I give you, so I don't see it as paying for the building back from that. That's just my opinion, and that's why, and I realize this is a useless motion, but I will make a motion to remove it from the budget.
Do I hear a second? Motion dies for lack of second. You had something you were gonna say?
Well, I just disagree with my learned friend. We have a product that's useless to us. When we get this stuff, it has no value to us. We're gonna put it in the landfill. It's a deficit. We give it to them, they turn it into something that's useful and give us money back. I'll take that deal anywhere in the world if I've got something that has no value and I can give it to somebody and they'll give me money back anytime.
Well, the money back, that's the over $1,000 I think we spend anyway, so I don't really see us getting money back. It is a use, but if we hired 2 people full-time at $10 an hour, it would cost us $41,000, not 62. We would have money left over and we would still be able to keep the stuff out of the landfill.
But we wouldn't be able to feed the people and some of the other services that they offer. There was a good presentation on the Council of Aging on TV about, I don't know if you saw it.
WMVF Tuesday.
Yeah, they explain exactly where their monies come from, what they do with it, what the shortfall would be, all of this kinds of good things. And I just thought that they did a very good presentation, as they did with here, and they brought, as we talk about advertisement, they passed out some brochures and this kind of stuff, and I would venture to say that people probably have more information on the Council of Aging than they do on the Solid Waste Authority. So,
By the time you understand your comparison, Ms. Creed, for 2 people at $10 an hour is $41,000 a year, and that ain't counting workman's comp and everything else you pay on. So that's probably bumping right to that $60,000 figure that you're comparing to. And we don't have to touch it. We don't have to mess with it right now.
I'll go back to you, Carl. You recommended that we continue, so we don't. The motion died for a lack of second for removing the money from the budget, so the money is still in the budget. We will vote on the budget at the May board meeting. We beat it to death. Any other discussion on the store? I'd like to thank the committee for the information that they did. I think a lot of it is still in the package. They did a very good research, and I also like to thank the Council of Agents for coming out and meeting with us and giving us an overview of the kinds of things that they're doing. Old business, do we have any old business? New business roundtable discussion. Danny?
Yeah, the North Myrtle Beach meeting, with the chamber, May the 3rd. We're sponsoring the breakfast. We'll have a table with eight people. The chairman's gonna open up our portion. Kendra and Victoria will be there to speak to probably 80-plus businesses. So we can take 5 more people with us. There'll probably be some more chairs available, but it would kind of be my recommendation that Mr. Jones and Mr. Campbell, being from that corner, would be there. They know probably a lot of the businesses up there, and I think that would benefit us. But, you know, those that want to go, we'll make arrangements for that.
Put me down. I'll go.
Anybody else? Then, Carl? What did he say?
When he retired.
I noticed your hand didn't go up.
I'm retired and I need to go home and check my calendar.
By the time you check your calendar, the 8 slots will be gone. Now, you can come, you just can't eat breakfast. So we'll be glad to have you. Danny has some seats in the side corner for those who are not at the table.
Outside at the flagpole. But I think it'll be a heck of a opportunity for us. They're doing a good job. We gave them a grant. We'll get kind of a report on that too. So it's going to be at the center at Barefoot Landing, the kind of convention center or
Cross the bridge, your first left.
yeah.
Right on the second.
Thank you, sir. We can handle that.
2 other things that I'd like to mention. 3. You'll like the third one. The first one, last meeting I told you that I was going to respond back to Santee Cooper. I did send them a letter letting them know that the board stood firm on the decision that we had made, and so we will not be taking that saw from them. So that letter has been sent. I sent a letter to Reverend Coakley for his 25th anniversary. He got his anniversary plaque or whatever it is for Cherry Hill, so we send him a congratulations to that. Now, the third thing I have is related to our executive director. His annual review is due, and so it comes at a very good time. So I'm going to pass these out. I need these back. There's information in there telling you when I need them back and who to get them to. So you have, is that my name on there? Bo, there you go, Bo. Give that to Northfleet, Mr. Campbell, and if you'll pass that down to
Mr. Schwarzkopf.
and I'm saying, I'm not gonna, somebody made a mistake, but this one is yours then. Look at the name on it. Okay. It'll all work out. So that's all I have. Anybody else got anything for the good of the day?
The plastic bag fight in Columbia.
Yes.
They, Mr. Massey is trying his best, and Senator Sin is holding her own on that thing. But his last push was that if any governmental agency passed one of these things, the state would hold their revenue sharing money. So
Wait a minute, say that again?
the money that the state gives the counties and the cities to run a state-type situation, they would free that, the aid to subdivision.
If they had a ban.
If they have a ban on the plant, yeah, okay.
How can they do that?
They're the legislature and they get to decide.
Isn't that extortion?
Could be.
We would
Remember,
hope not.
Well,
Say
when they-
again.
They
Well, the
never-
response he got was the Senate overwhelmingly voted down the bill to ban the bans, 27 to 13.
now,
So
I would like to say if the staff would give each of the board members the last packet when I spoke that they put together an excellent,
please.
very succinct, very easy to read, and in a beautiful package that I passed out to the senators after I spoke, and before the guard told me I couldn't.
I thought you were on the list. But I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for going and representing us in this endeavor. So we really appreciate you going, and thank you.
I know, because I had to get up at 4. Nobody else wanted to go.
Well, you know Mike Campbell was going to be late, so we didn't send him.
Didn't send him. But I would like for all of the board members to have 1 or 2 copies of that with them, and one of the reasons is because the senator that you know or is in your district or you're aware of, our senators need to know what this will cost their cities and their county and what it will do to their solid waste authority financially. And they need to know that before some of these other senators or the manufacturers come in and try to give them a spiel on why they should do that. They should truly know what the cost is to the citizens here. So I'd like for each of you to have one, and whichever senator that you know well, please give it to him and talk with him a minute, because next year or at the next session, the bag people will have this right back up, and they need to be aware of what it will cost.
Hey, Pam, you mentioned that, and I did, and I've been remiss because I've been out of the area. But one of the things that you and I talked about was inviting either the senators here or one at a time, so that we could actually show them. That was very, very helpful for some of the people that we invited here. Orton Bellamy, we brought him out. Now he's at the county fighting to get plastic bags banned in the county. Because when he was able to ride out there and see where all these plastic bags are, it changed his whole mind. So I'm going to go back to that now that I'm back on 98%. I'm not 100, but I will see if we can set that and maybe have them come and do. I doubt that they've ever toured the landfill or any landfill. So it may be a good thing for them to do.
And that is great, and I'd love for them to, as well as our House members. But I have spoken with Mr. Bellamy at every council meeting. He talks with me and about the landfill, and I'm really impressed with that gentleman.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate his work.
And I think Mr. Gardner was impressed when he came. Yeah, so we need to get more of them. We did send a blanket invitation. We only had 2 or so. But anyway, we'll keep working on them.
How many cars do we need to send to Columbia with you next time, Ms. Creek?
There were enough.
They were trying to lock
They
it.
talked to the chairman. They didn't need any more.
We need somebody to protect you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, well, the meeting is adjourned.